Okay, so let's go over a couple of these quiz review answers here so you can kind of check and see if you're on the right page and doing some of the right things here and make the necessary adjustments to what you're doing. The directions here for number one, this is number one by the way, they want us to find the cosine of theta. And in this case, they're saying find the value of the trigonometric function indicated. So in this case, they want us to find the cosine of theta. We know cosine to be adjacent over hypotenuse, and we know that because of the CAH part of SOHCAHTOA. We need to first and foremost draw our triangle. So we always go from our point up to the axis and back to the origin to draw our right triangle. Now, something to think about, we are not on the unit circle here. So although we've been doing some of those and you've been accustomed to putting a 1 there, the length of that hypotenuse is not 1. We are not on the unit circle. So we have to go back to thinking about, okay, the point that's given to us is the point 3, -6. Well, the 3 is this distance here, to the right 3, and then down 6. All right? So when we think about the cosine of theta being adjacent over hypotenuse, we know that our adjacent side, our theta goes right here, and our adjacent side is going to be 3. The thing we don't know is our hypotenuse. Okay, we need to find this. So in order to do that, we go over to the side and we say, all right, I'm going to do 3 squared plus -6 squared equals c squared. That's our Pythagorean theorem. This is going to be 9 plus 36. Be careful there because -6 squared is a positive 36. If you're going to use your calculator, make sure you put it in with parentheses. So this is going to be 45 equals c squared. And as you very well know, we undo a squared with a square root, and we're left with c equaling the square root of 45. Well, it's a good idea to go ahead and reduce this when we can, all right, because we always want to deal with smaller numbers if we can. So if you think about 45 being 9 times 5, and 9 is 3 times 3, we do our little breakout here. As long as we have two of the same thing, one breaks out, one gets knocked off. So really what we have here is a 3 that broke out and the 5 that's stuck under the radical because the 5 doesn't have anything to pair up with. So this side up here, this hypotenuse that we didn't know, we now know to be 3 radical 5. Okay, so as I go back up here and I put 3 radical 5 in this denominator, I feel really good about this, but unfortunately, I'm not in the simplest form, okay, because I see a 3 in the numerator and a 3 in the denominator, so I know those can be reduced to 1 and 1. So now I have 1 over the square root of 5, but I also know that I can't have a radical in the denominator, so I need to rationalize the denominator. And I do that by multiplying by radical 5 over radical 5. Remember, that's just the same thing as multiplying by 1, and we're always allowed to multiply by 1. And the benefit of doing that is that when I have a square root of 5 times a square root of 5, well, that's a square root of 25, and we know the square root of 25 is 5. So we're going to call this thing 5 radical 5. That's the exact value of the cosine of theta when you have a point at 3, -6. Okay, let's move on here to question number 2 on the quiz review. Here they want us to find the tangent of theta. We have the point 4, 3, so I'm going to take my point, drop it straight down to the x-axis as we always do, make a right triangle. I know this is 4 and this is 3. Now when they want us to do tangent, we kind of luck out because we know tangent to be opposite over adjacent. And the reason I say we luck out is because now this time we don't need the hypotenuse, so we don't have to do Pythagorean theorem. So this just ends up, here's my theta, opposite is 3, adjacent is 4, and I'm done. That's it. That's the extent of it. Okay. Let's flip on over to the back and let's look at questions 6 and 8. Okay, I'm just doing a couple of each type here so that hopefully it'll be helpful. And then the other ones, if you still have questions on those, we'll definitely tackle those in class before we take our quiz. So the sine of 405. Now, we are on the unit circle now. That's an important thing to note. I know that this is the point 10, and I know that every radius in that circle is a length of 1 because we're 1 unit away from the origin. Now they want us to do the sine of 405 degrees. I know that 1 time around the circle is 360, so I'm just going to subtract that off. And I'm left with 45 degrees. So 405 is going to be a coterminal angle with 45 degrees. Right there. 45 degrees. Drop down my right triangle. I know this side is 1. This side is radical 2 over 2. This side is radical 2 over 2. Okay, we're doing sine, and we all know that sine, because of our SOHCAHTOA, sine is opposite over hypotenuse. In this case, I'm looking at the 45-degree angle right here. That's what I'm looking at. Opposite of that, go back to my pen here. Opposite of that is going to be radical 2 over 2 over the hypotenuse, which is 1. And we know that any number divided by 1 is just itself. So our final answer is radical 2 over 2. And we're all good. All right, let's take a quick look here at number 8. Number 8 is the tangent of 25 pi over 6. Now it's your choice. You can decide to either go ahead and graph this angle in radians, or if you decide you want to change it to degrees, you could do that as well. Okay? If you're going to change it to degrees and you think about 25 pi over 6, I want to cancel out the pi's, so I put pi in the denominator, 180 degrees in the numerator. Pi's cancel. I grab my calculator, I do 25 times 180 equals, divide that by 6, that's 750 degrees. Well, I know that if I go around the circle 1 time, that's going to be 360, so I'll subtract off 360. That leaves me with 390. I'm still above 360, so I'm going to subtract 360 again. That's going to leave me with 30 degrees. So 750, well, let's go back even a further step. 25 pi over 6 is the same angle as 750 degrees, which is a coterminal angle with 30 degrees. So now I can just drop a 30 here. Drop this down. I know that the hypotenuse is 1, as all of them are in a unit circle. I know the side across from the 30 is 1/2. And I know that the middle length side is radical 3 over 2. Because I am doing tangent I know to be opposite over adjacent. So in this case, the tangent of 25 pi over 6 is equal to the opposite side from the 30-degree angle is 1/2. The adjacent side from that 30-degree angle is radical 3 over 2. Remember that anytime I want to do a division of fractions, I can change division to multiplication as long as I use the reciprocal of the second fraction. I got it set up now. I'm going to reduce here. Going to reduce this 2 with this 2. So I have 1 over radical 3. Of course, I know that radicals in the denominator are bad news, so I'm going to multiply by radical 3 over radical 3. This is called rationalizing the denominator. I want to make that denominator a rational number. Square root of 3 divided by times square root of 3 is just 3. My numerator becomes radical 3 over 3, and this is the tangent of 25 pi over 6.